All right. Today we're going to do our button. So we just finished with our different stitches, overcast, running, back stitch. I did 4 back stitches there in case you were wondering. Now we're going to go back and rethread our needle because we just knotted the needle or the thread and now we need to rethread it. So we're just going to carefully, while it's still on the spool, so don't cut anything until after this, thread your needle first. First thing is thread it. Pull it to where it's about as long as from your hand down to your elbow. Then you're going to cut the end there. Just one of the threads. Then we're going to pinch, wrap, and roll again. So pinch, wrap it around your index finger. Try to make sure it's like near your nail here. So if you're doing it way up here, it's not going to quite work the same. Try to do it close to your nail. Kind of pull it back to the back of this hand. Press down and roll. Then you're going to take that middle finger on your thumb, pull from where the needle is, lightly lift your pointer finger. You should end up with a knot. All right, and if this is too long, you can trim it. So you can just take that and trim it, like that. Okay, so now we have our needle and our thread. We're going to do one last thing. You should have a button. I forgot to grab one, so I'm gonna do that really quick. So grab your button. Here's my button. We're gonna go in between the 2 layers. It doesn't matter exactly where you sew this on. This is just a practice. We're gonna go in between the 2 layers and hide the knot. You can decide where you want to put it on your paper. Pull the knot all the way to the back of your paper. Now what you're gonna do is take your button and go through one of the holes, just like that. Now take your button and go through the opposite hole, so not the ones next to it, the opposite hole as far away as you can. So you should have it on like that. Okay, so you don't need to hold it in place yet. What you're gonna do is go close to where it's coming out, the thread. You're gonna go close to where that's coming out of the paper. You're going to press through. I just went through both layers. And we're going to pull, 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 tug, 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 till it's resting along the paper. Okay, now I'm gonna go through the back, through one of the holes that is not used yet. So kind of guess, kind of do your best to find it, and pull that through. So now I've gone through the back one time. I'm gonna go through the opposite hole, so it's crossed over. And I'm gonna do that one more time. So I'm gonna go through one of the holes that I started with. There we go. So you wanna do this twice to really secure your button. If you don't take the time to really secure it and do this twice, it can be a wiggly, loose button, which is kind of sad. It's better to have a secured, more solid button. I'm trying to find my hole here. There it is, okay. Just like that, and then through the other side. Tug, 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 make sure it's nice and tight. Now it shouldn't really wiggle around, it should move still a little bit, but it really shouldn't wiggle too much. If it is, then try to kind of tug on it to make it more solid. The last thing you're gonna do is knot it, just like we knotted the end of the thread before. Grab a little bit of your paper. Pull until you see the loop and hold your loop. Find your loop like this. Go through your loop. Oh, I dropped my needle. Let me pick that up. Just like that. Tug, tug, tug. Do that 2 or 3 times in the same area. Not too loose. You always want to tug on each of these. Tug, tug, tug. I ripped my paper. It's okay. Your fabric won't rip. This is just a practice. Oop, I keep ripping my paper. All right. There we go. Pull, find your loop, go through the loop. Tug, tug, tug. I've done that 3 times now, so that is nice and solid. I'm going to take my scissors and cut it off, not on the knot. You don't want to cut the knot, but not too far away from it, just like that. And now that's a secured button, it's good to go. So now we're going to take our pins and we're going to pin our monster pattern to the paper itself. So we're going to make sure it's where we want it to be. That is perfect for me. I'm going to take my pin, and to secure it, you have to go down and up to secure it to the fabric. So I pressed it a little bit through, folded over the fabric and pressed again, and now it's going to hold it in place. I'm going to do that twice so that I have the upper part secured and the lower part. Press down, fold it over, press again, and then you have it secured just like that. If you need to pause the video to finish that, you can. Okay. Now we're ready to cut our felt so we make our little monster. So I'm going to open my scissors nice and wide, and I'm going to cut way down there with lots of little cuts. So I'm going to open it nice and wide, cut along here. Here we go. So now I've cut out my monster. Ta-da! I'm gonna put all these scraps together. If you can use any of this, great. You can take some of these big pieces and reuse them. These little tiny pieces can be thrown away. I won't use those, so I'm gonna throw those away. All right, so now I have my monster. I'm going to undo the pins. And we have our buddy. Next thing we're gonna do is sew on details. We have our overcast stitch, we have our straight stitch, and our back stitch and our button. Here's our little monster that we cut out of our felt. We are ready to start making the details. So I'm actually gonna pull apart the two pieces, and I'm just gonna work with the front of it. The back I'm just gonna put aside for now. And I have my reference of my little buddy. I went ahead and got button eyes for him, and then I'm gonna cut the circles out of the extra felt. So this is where we're gonna start cutting out the designs that we're going to make for the details on our monster. So you can cut out whatever you want, if it's like the teeth or like a shirt or a pair of pants, you can do that too. You can draw little hearts if you want to. I'm gonna use this guy as a pattern, so I'm actually gonna use the cutout as a pattern for my second eye, so it's a little bit easier for myself. I don't have a lot of detail on mine because I don't want to take too long to show you how to do each thing. Okay, so here's my eyes. So I have these circles and I want to put them a little bit farther out, I think. Like there is great. Okay. And then I'll be putting the eyeballs like that. So it looks kind of similar. It's a little bit different, but that's okay. So I'm going to start with one of my circles. I know I want it there. And I'm going to use my thread. So again, I have to pinch, wrap, and roll to get my knot. So there it is. Now I'm going to start behind the fabric. So this knot we don't want to see, we want to hide it. So I'm going to go behind it, and you can do like different stitches on this. So you could do the overcast. So let me show you how to do the overcast. So here we go, pull it through, and then I can go through the red, and my knot's in the back, you can see that there. And then I'll go through the white, and then through the red. And notice how every time I'm pulling the thread all the way, you don't want to leave it because it'll get knotted. So this is the overcast stitch. You can sew on details using the overcast stitch, like this. This secures it really well, makes it really solid, takes a little bit more time, but it looks really good. Or you can do the straight stitch. And you can use whatever color thread. I provided you guys with, I think it was gray. But if you have different colors at home, you'd like to switch the colors, you're welcome to. If you want to do the running stitch, you can do the running stitch where you just go up and down, go through the back, go up. So whichever one that you like. All right, so we've got that on there. So I would go all the way around, and then I can knot it off. So how do you knot things off on the back? So let's say that it's completely done how do you knot it? So the way that you knot it is you grab a little bit of fabric, just like we did with our paper, and then pull it to where we see the loop. We want to find the loop, hold on to the loop, you can put your finger through it, go through the loop, and then tug and tug. Do that 2 or 3 times in the same spot. I'm actually going overlapping on top of the knot I just made, just right underneath that. Go through the loop, tug, tug, tug. And I think for the details, 2 knots is good. If you want to do 3 for good measure, you're welcome to. So that's how you're going to sew on your details. You can do your overcast, your straight. So let's go over how to do a mouth. So I know that I want to have this line for my mouth right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with my thread. I'm getting pretty close on having too short a thread, so I have to watch for that. Okay, so let's say that I want to create a line here. I'm going to start over here, hide my knot, make sure you go through the back, then I'm going to go down, and this one I'm going to do the back stitch. So remember, the back stitch is really good for details that you want just to be lined. So like this, and now I want to fill in the gap, go back through the same hole, pull it, and now it's becoming a line. So I'm going to go a little bit farther up, like this, pull it, then go back through the opposite one. Then when you're done, knot it off and you're good to go. After you've sewn and you have about a finger's length of thread left, you're going to knot your thread. So this is longer than a finger's length, but we're going to pretend like it's there. So to knot your thread, you're going to get 1 piece of the felt, so not both sides, just one side. Get a little tiny bit, you don't need very much. Pull until you see your loop. So it's the same idea as the other knots. Go through the loop and then tug on it. You're going to do that 2 or 3 times in the same spot. Grab a little bit of fabric, go through your loop, and then tug on it. I'm going to do that one more time here. Go through the loop and then tug on it. All right, once you have it knotted, you're ready to cut it off and re-thread. So I've cut it off, it's ready to go. Now I'm ready to get new thread and continue sewing. When you get to where you're almost done all the way around, leave a gap so you can stuff it. So you have your stuffing. You're gonna stuff the stuffing in there the best you can. Then you're gonna sew the gap together, and then your monster should be done. And that's the video. Thank you very much, and hopefully your monster will go well, and we'll see you soon. Bye!